Hello and welcome to On the Edge today. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds for everybody to join, and then I'm going to turn it over to David Bergstein, who is our guest host, and our guest, Michael Horwitz, for their conversation. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since we're live, and she said wait a few minutes, I hope that Della comes back and tells us when to start. But we're going to somewhat start anyway. Since we're here, we're on the screen. My name is Dave Bergstein. I'm going to be the guest host of On the Edge, a BotKeeper production, but we're really not talking about BotKeeper. They want to get some thought leaders on the air. And I am a old practicing CPA who's moving my way to retirement, and I wanted to find some young, enthusiastic thought leaders that have been around for at least 2 years. So joining me on this first hosting episode is Michael Horwitz. He is the executive director of the BDO Alliance, which I think is the largest independent accounting association in the United States. Would that be correct, Mike? And with that, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it. And it's great to spend time with you. So BDO Alliance USA is the largest association. We call it an alliance program. And as of today, we have 262 US-based accounting firms and another 150 or so business resource network members. BotKeeper is one of those 150. The common theme of those firms is that they like to hang around accounting firms, but they're not accounting firms themselves. And I have the privilege of working with 29 other great team members at BDO Alliance USA that help to service this ecosystem that we call the BDO Alliance USA.
No, I appreciate it. I was looking at your LinkedIn bio just a little while ago, and I realized I've known you the full 21 years that you've been at the BDO Alliance.
Yes.
I think, what, 2002, something like that?
Exactly, yeah. I joined BDO from EY and helped start an alliance program at the time at EY. It doesn't exist anymore. None of the big four firms have anything like what we're talking about. But yeah, I've been here for 22 years. It's been great.
Well, it's been a great run, and I wanted to talk about the future of firms, the staffing, the structure, the automation. I've seen a lot of changes over the years, and I know you have your big BDO Evolve meeting, I think in another 2 weeks or so. Actually, the first meeting of the season's on this week. The Information Technology Alliance kicked it off with meeting this week. You'll be doing it, then we're going to see AICPA Engage, host of other associations.
Yes.
What are you going to tell some of your member firms when you open up that meeting and you talk about the state of the profession, the future of profession? I'll ask more questions later.
Yeah, that's a great question, David. Thank you. So we call our Alliance Conference Evolve, and it's a great single word to describe what's happening in the profession. And it's not a new theme, if you will, but it's a very consistent theme based upon what we're experiencing, not only as a firm at BDO, but also what's happening in the marketplace. And we can't think of a time in which we weren't evolving. We try to draw firms into our program that covet evolution and want to anticipate what's happening in the future. And if you look at the marketplace today, notwithstanding the traditional CPA firm structures, things are very different. There's so many different options for accounting firms: maintain their independence, merge with another firm, join with some PE-backed firms, or have a PE investment that helps them remain independent, be subsumed into a wealth advisory firm. We tend to attract firms that want to be independent, but even within our small subset of firms around the country, and we have about 180 of the top 500 firms on IPA's top 500 list, so a good percentage. But we've had 9 firms take PE investments in the last couple of years. So this is a very hot topic. We'll be talking about that, the M&A marketplace, move to advisory, and the evolution of what would be a traditional accounting firm. What does that mean in today's environment? So lots of interesting topics. Barry Melanson will also be speaking and providing his perspective from the AICPA. We'll have Alan Colton there, and a number of other luminaries will be making presentations.
No, I appreciate that information. You said really a mouthful in your short 3 or 4 sentences in terms of evolving CPA firms. Title of the show, On the Edge, and I think we are on the edge as accounting firms evolve into non-accounting firms. Do you see more and more CPA firms, more of the traditional model of large firms moving away from CPA to professional services?
Yeah, sure. Especially if you're looking at the top 100 firms in the country, and certainly beyond that level, you're seeing a significant percentage of revenues coming from non-traditional services, non-assurance, non-tax services. Even at BDO, our aspiration is to be a third, and that's not even coming close to what the big 4 firms are doing. We're number 5 on a global basis. So as you trickle down that top 100 list and into the top 400 or 500, you're seeing a greater percentage of revenues coming from non-traditional services, including CAS services, advisory services, wealth advisory services. So the type of individuals that are coming into quote-unquote accounting firms are very different today than they may have been even 10 years ago. And you have been around long enough to recognize that the shortage in staffing and capacity challenges has really, even in the last 22 years, I can only think of a year or two during the Great Recession when accounting firms might have felt like they had more than enough capacity to do their jobs. Today, we're still way understaffed, and even in the traditional sides of the firm, and now we're looking to grow into new areas. So who's coming into the profession? What is the profession going to be? Are we going to be known as accounting firms in the future? Are we technology-driven firms that happen to offer assurance, tax, and advisory services? What will be called? How we'll be doing it? Certainly we'll be on the edge and looking forward to the evolution of what we call the accounting profession.
I'm just going to push it a little bit more because I come from all sides of it. I was and am and finishing up as a solo practitioner. I see a bright future for the smaller firms, whether they be CPA firms or non-CPA firms, CAS and advisory services, because technology has made accounting almost totally automated. Would you agree with the fact that most traditional accounting can be automated from start to finish?
It's moving in that direction. I'm not sure that it's there entirely. If you could take a wide screen of my office right now, you'd see some paper here. We like to say that we're paperless, but maybe not 100%. And I'd say the same with technology. Most of the recent surveys that I've seen, we've done them for our members, but if you look at Accounting Today, RightWorks just came out with a survey recently, and the vast majority of accountants have not yet adopted AI in their practice. So I think they came up with a 4% are fluent in using AI. That means 96% are not, and the vast majority aren't even using ChatGPT. So what we will be doing with technology in the future is going to be significantly greater than what we're doing today, but we are great at adopting a variety of technologies already and embedding AI in a number of our practice areas. So I think eventually it will be a lot easier for sole practitioners to leverage the technology that's available to larger firms, but I'm not sure that most sole practitioners have done so as of yet.
I tend to agree with you, but interesting. Right Networks did the survey, and from the AICPA standpoint, is that where the information comes from?
I think RightWorks did their own survey, if I'm not mistaken.
And the AICPA was a different survey.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing is the non-CPA proliferation in creating practices. people who are
Yes.
accountants, and people who are non-accountants, who are just marketing people, building these new tax practices, because if you're not doing the one thing that a CPA has the license to, which is the attest function, you're
Yep.
doing everything else: management reporting, operations, wealth management, advisory services. And I'm seeing a tremendous growth there. Even, I guess your new competition might be, there's this gentleman, Jeff Bezos, who also created a automated accounting firm that's out there at present.
Yeah,
So,
of course. I mean, really, this profession is being disintermediated not only by big tech, but also by PE. And where we end up in the future, I mean, it comes back to the trusted advisor role. And if you think about the sole practitioner, smaller firm, they have a great opportunity to be that trusted entity within their community and the go-to resource. But what's fun is it's not just for traditional assurance, audit, compilation, review, tax compliance. There's so many other things that accounting firms can be doing and should be doing. There's a demand for that trusting relationship. And so accounting firms are now starting to say, okay, why do I need to be pigeonholed into these microservices? Let me broaden my service offering. Let me leverage technology. Let me draw upon capacity resources that are not necessarily based in my home market. Obviously, COVID helped us realize that we could have folks working together with us virtually as opposed to in our physical offices. And so most of our members now are not being limited by who they can hire in their local marketplaces, which is really exciting.
So I'm big on virtual. I've been pretty much most of my life, and I love it. I think you even have member firms now that don't even have an office. You have a couple of
Yeah,
firms that are virtual in nature.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and it's very interesting because we have members in 49 of the 50 states, so we get a pretty good subsection by a geography of how things are going, and it is very different based upon where you're located. We have some Alliance members that barely closed down or shut down during COVID, and we have others that are still working up to even 50% occupancy even today. And the number of firms that are willing to hire people outside of their local geography has never been higher, and I think that trend is only going to continue.
I agree with you. And I think, again, being on the edge, it's the technology that allows them to hire people all over the world, because whether you're in the office or out of the office, we're face to face right now, yet we're probably 900 miles apart,
Mhm.
and yet we can have a good conversation.
Yes, I wish I were with you in Florida, David, but yes, I'm in Boston.
Well, it was temperature today was it's going to be in the 80s. I've done my pickleball and busy working
Excellent.
here.
Sunny
You know,
day in 40s here.
well, you keep it there. What do you see as the structure going forward? Do you see pure audit firms coming into existence as PE divides a lot of the firms in half?
Well, the alternative practice structures that PE firms are implementing and CBIZ has as a public company, I think there'll be more of that. And even the big four toyed with that idea of separating their assurance practice with all of the independence challenges that attest firms have. Wouldn't surprise me if that trend continues. I think the traditional CPA firm, though, is not going to necessarily bifurcate their practice and set up two different independent legal structures.
No, I think the top 500, once you get by the top 500 firms, the other, let's say 45,500 firms are
Mm-hmm.
20 and less, and probably majority of those are under 10. And when you look at it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the smaller the firm, the more likely the individual practitioner is doing a little bit of a test work and assurance work and a little bit of tax work and maybe a little bit of client accounting and advisory services. So those are individuals that are straddling multiple service lines. In a bigger firm, you're doing audit work, you're doing tax work, you're doing consulting. And so it's easier to divide people and staff into different buckets based upon the service line. It does become more challenging with a smaller firm to allocate those people to different legal structures.
I agree there, and that's why I see the opportunity for these smaller firms to go into what I'll call the niche. Don't, my advice, and as a solo practitioner, way back when, I did 2 audits, and I would never do one after that, just the amount of work and the insurance you had to have. So smaller firms really have an opportunity to go into doing different things.
Yes, for sure.
What do you think about the auditors? Are they really independent? They swing back and forth in these firms where PE is involved?
I'm not sure that I understand your question.
Well, I really don't mean to ask it of you, but it's kind of interesting. We have a PE, we have a firm divided in half. We got audit on one side, but are those CPAs working on both sides of the house?
I would assume not, because that's not what's supposed to be happening. So, assuming positive intent and that the individuals that have been separated, if you will, into the assurance practice are staying on their side of the fence, then no, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay, now I was curious, the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy came in handy there in terms of answering that question.
Was that diplomatic enough for you?
Yes, it is. That's his alma mater. That's why I threw that out there. So as we move forward, and a firm such as, well, I'm not going to talk about the firm. Actually, explain that to me. BDO Alliance is the largest independent association, and then BDO is a firm, is a network. What's the difference there?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So BDO operates in 167 countries. Here, we're BDO USA. And so you've got BDO UK, BDO Germany, China, all across the world. That's a network, if you will, same branding, same global audit methodology, et cetera. There's a number of definitions, sub-definitions of what is a network. And all the big 4 firms operate in that similar basis, RSM, Grant as well. As an association of independent accounting firms, which is what BDO Alliance USA is, all of our members are completely independent of BDO. So they do their own things, they make their own decisions, they have separate ownership, they don't bear the BDO brand, if you will, but they do have access to a number of our resources that help them do their jobs on a day-to-day basis, and they can, from a peer-to-peer perspective, connect with their peers, and we facilitate this in the course of any given day innumerable times, and they're accessing a portal with some content that they're sharing with each other. So there's an independence component of it that clearly separates our members from what we look like as a firm on a global basis.
Interesting distinguishing of the two parts. Very, very good. You mentioned before that the BDO Alliance also has a bunch of people that like to hang out with accountants that aren't accountants, something called the BRN.
Business Resource Network.
Can you enlighten the audience about, maybe by name, what some of these BRNs are and what they do? Because that would help all accountants, because I know they're trying to sell the BDO Alliance members mainly technology. So what are some of the technologies that, you see out there that BRN members are saying, hey, we'll streamline the practice, make you more efficient?
Yeah, great question. So some of our Business Resource Network members are household names, like a Thomson Reuters, a Wolters Kluwer, an ADP, a Paychex. Everyone uses them, if you will, in the accounting profession. Others are organizations that may be brand new, sprouting up, AI driven. We have the newest member of our Business Resource Network program that will be attending our conference is a company called Neo.tax. It's an AI-driven R&D tax solution. So they're applying next-gen AI solutions to what was a traditional tax consulting service that many accounting firms provide, including BDO. So it's a great opportunity to recognize we as a firm can't do everything on our own. We don't have the capital to invest in every single burgeoning technology that's out there. So let's go find a great firm, collaborate with them, enable them to have access to BDO and to the 262 CPA firms in our alliance program, and bring some best practices into the marketplace, enabling our independent members to go to market using these technologies. We do due diligence on these organizations. We vet them. There's no requirement that our alliance firms use any of our Business Resource Network members, but it does help when we've created an environment, a safe environment, where they can come together and learn from each other. And this is just one of the 150 great stories that we have amongst our Business Resource Network family.
No, I appreciate pointing out. And I think AICPA tries to do that with its CPA accelerator, where they get novice companies and they go and vet them first before they say, "Hey, look at." It. So I'm always looking for what's the latest and greatest technology out there to try, and hopefully it works, and eventually, you pick the winner that you move forward with. And I think that, I'm part of this interview, by the way. I asked Copilot and ChatGPT what questions to ask Mike Horwitz.
Oh, wow.
But it did say somewhere on the bottom of it, remember that Mike Horwitz has a wealth of experience and insights. This is what Copilot's telling me. So feel free to delve into specific areas that interest you. His perspective can provide valuable guidance on the future of accounting. But you didn't know Copilot said that about you.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, David.
How do you see, we're on the edge of all these changes. How do you see regulatory changes affecting accounting?
So if regulatory means like the PCAOB with public company, or what aspect of regulatory would you be referring to?
Well, let's make it an easy one that's really confusing. Let's make it, I got my notes written here. Beneficial ownership information report. Here's a new regulation that's out there. I've attended a lot of meetings on should accountants do it or not, what's the rules? There's a regulatory requirement to do it, but who should be doing it? Why? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And over the years, there have been many versions of this that have popped up: SOX, ESG, trust, security. So there's many areas where accountants, CPAs can get involved and should get involved in providing assurance-related services. I know that in some instances, there's not 100% agreement as to what those services are. ESG is a simple one where nobody was really talking about ESG 10 years ago, probably 5 years ago, yes. Today, BDO has 9 service lines related to ESG. Many of our alliance firms are dabbling in it, but not really fully engaged. And if you go 5 or 10 years out from now, my guess is that a whole host of additional CPA firms will be providing ESG related services that may be a regulatory requirement based upon the state in which the company is operating, as an example. So, if you think about it, the majority of what we do from an assurance perspective and from a tax compliance perspective is regulated, and it's being told to the entity or individual that they ought to do this. They got to go someplace to get this service, and we happen to be the right resource for them at the right time. But there'll be additional services and requirements from a regulatory perspective that will pop up over time, and hopefully accounting firms are able to pivot and add value and provide those services to these clients.
And again, that's where the audit comes in with the ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And actually, I think there's a little battle going on there. But again, it's for the big guys. Can they take over that space, or is there other outside groups saying we can do the audit of the environment and social? Because we see a lot of non-CPA firms going into that space and saying we're better equipped as an engineer. Actually, that leads me to another question, which if you don't know about it, we won't talk about it, but it just hit me. Are you familiar with the B Corporation certification that are out there now?
Is that B Corp, like you're doing good things?
Yes.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yes, I'm not intimately familiar with what it takes to be a B Corp, but yes.
Because I see a lot of accounting firms trying to be B Corps now. Only
Mhm.
reason I know that, it's Ron Baker's book that I
Mhm.
read, and that was in
Time's up.
the Time's Up. He
Yep.
talked about that being as another alternative service that
Mhm.
either CPAs, and as you mentioned in ESG, get their brand around, or other
Yes.
groups, and the B corporations pushing a lot of that, saying, hey, we certify environment, social, that you're
Yes.
doing good things for people.
Right. Absolutely. We should have a place at that table, and why not?
Right. And again, I think CPAs are the most trusted advisors. If you're not a CPA, but you're an accountant, you're still a trusted advisor because it rubs off on the fact that you're an accountant. But
Right.
that's the edge that I'm seeing here. I'm seeing a change. You're really leading a tremendous group down the path by trying to keep them ahead of the curve by knowing
Yep.
what's going on and educating. Because I think, isn't that one of the big things, the BDO Alliance, educating the members firms on what's really happening out there?
We are trying to do our best, and what we see as a large firm, we share with our members. What they see in their respective marketplaces, they share with us and with each other. So we're no smarter than any of our members. We just at BDO have a lot of people with a lot of visibility around the country, so we can maybe sometimes see things that are happening in a broader way than some of our individual members. And we're very willing to share that on an ongoing basis with them. You asked a question earlier about who's coming into the profession and the variety of different types of people that we expect to see. And I think that's really exciting because there are not enough accounting majors and folks that are getting their MST to satisfy the demand that accounting firms have today. So we need to bring people in with non-traditional backgrounds. And I hope that folks that are listening today or whenever are going to be open to working with really smart young people coming out of school and graduate schools that can be accretive to our respective practices. We have to do this.
No, and I agree with you there because I teach college adjunct accounting, and enrollment is down all across the board in colleges. It's not just accounting. So you try
Yes.
to get people to come into accounting, but what I'm really telling them to do is learn some accounting and also learn data analytics, learn
Mm-hmm.
computers, learn some finance, because accountants aren't going to go away. We're never going to go away because we're the most important thing for businesses. We're like their doctor, we're their fiscal doctor. We're helping them be more liquid, solvent, and profitable. And I know you got to get ready for your meeting as we get down towards the end. You want to say anything about your meeting or about to wind up, any last thoughts about how you see things going in the future?
First of all, I'm grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to spend time with you, David. So thank you very much. And I would just say how excited I am as the evolution of the profession continues. We'll have a 3-day spotlight of this with 1,900 people in our membership gathering in a couple of weeks. But things continue to evolve. They'll evolve the next day that we leave our conference, and things will be different. And I would encourage everyone not to fear the future, but to embrace it and to certainly leverage technology, a whole variety of types of technology, including the types of technologies that BookKeeper offers to CAS practices, and to stay in touch with thought leaders like David Bergstein, and to have fun. That would be my best recommendation for everyone.
Well, we want to continue to have fun. We appreciate you being the first guest on my guest hosting here. I know it's nice
Thank
to
you,
see you
David.
again. You're looking almost younger and younger each time
You
that I
did a
see you.
great job. I
So
can't wait.
we appreciate it. And
Yeah.
key technology will continue to help change people and be on the edge, but firm structure, firm salaries, which we didn't really touch about. Everything's changing in the accounting field, whether it will be called accounting firms, professional service firms, or the gurus to help people succeed in business. Time will tell. So thanks for being on. I appreciate it. And I think Della will cut us off in a moment or so. So if anybody has any questions and wants to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
M Horwitz, HORWITZ at BDO.com, and would love to hear from anyone that wants to chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And if you have questions, just send them to BotKeeper also if they don't relate to Mike. Thank you very much for attending. Look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.